Hello, I am doing some VOD review of some sets I played. Well, myself and a couple other friends played on stream. Pretty informal. I'm just going to be giving tips, advice, that kind of stuff. What I noticed, what people do well, what people did not well. I thought these were good sets all around. So I played in a couple of them. I probably won't go over... yeah, I'll probably include the ones that I played, but I probably won't go in at quite as much detail. I'm more focused on the really close ones because I think that just a couple different interactions being changed or focusing on different things could sway these matchups a lot. So the first set we got here is Polar on the left playing Enkidu versus HomeZz. I'm just going to call him Holmes because I think that's how you're actually supposed to say it. Playing Nanase. This matchup is pretty weird, but I think probably Nanase favored, right? She's really good in this version, top 5 for sure. And I think this is a lot. I think all Nanase matchups, I mean, this goes for every character in the game, how their pressure is structured, but I think specifically for Nanase, how they deal with the Vorpal Cycle is really important. She's a character where it's really easy to throw away Vorpal Cycle by using Force Function too much or by throwing too many Fireballs, but she's a character that also, if you don't have Vorpal Cycle to deal with her pressure, is really obnoxious because you can potentially have to deal with her behind a Fireball, and then does she dash up, throw before the Fireball hits me? Does she dash up, wait for the Fireball, do a mix-up? Does she dash up, wait for the Fireball, then tick throw me? You've got a lot of layers of pressure right there. But if you have Chain Shift, you negate a lot of those layers. So, pretty important. They are fucking around on stream. Mad hard. Just get to the pressure tray Fireball there. Pretty simple knockdown. Just does float back Fireball. Jumps over it. Good jump. Doesn't quite get the combo off it. Into overhead. Drops the route a little bit, but still a really nice route. I really like Polar's routing in general. Oh, okay. Chain shifts on the shield. That was probably punishable on shield. Oh, just a really weird hit confirm, so he just does a pretty simple confirm. I want to see if that was too many bounces or not, is why that dropped. So we got... No, not at all. So, thing to know about Nanase and her sword car follow-ups, like, follow-up he does here. Can I skip 5 seconds? The follow-up she does here, this is punishable, right? But you have to have a button that hits about at this range. For Polar, that's probably only 2C is going to hit that far. 5B is not going to hit there. 2B is going to hit like right there-ish. 5B hits like right here-ish. And he did it very close up on blocks. So, like, this is probably one of the shorter distances you're going to get from that follow-up. But it is punishable. You might... So, let's see real quick if there's anything. Let's see exactly how minus that is. So, I'm going to go Mizumi. Nanase, UNICLR. And, of course, for every character, it's going to be a bit different because you have that reach wear. But for Enkidu, his frame data is pretty solid in his range, but once you get outside of 5B range, it's kind of shaky for the most part. So you got Sword Car, got the stab follow-up, got the overhead follow-up, you got the dash 2 follow-up. It says minus 18. So more than I thought. If I actually had to guess, I would have said like 12 to 14-ish. But this probably depends a bit on how the sword car hits. Like if you hit the sword car really deep, it's probably a little bit less minus. But I mean, this sword car, for example, was about as deep as, or about as early as you could probably hit it on block. So full minus 18 right here. If 2C reaches there, then that is a clear punish, mash 2C there every time. Doesn't reach, maybe micro dash 5B. Otherwise, maybe like, I don't know, Rekka's, maybe? Let's look at Enkidu's page real quick. I'll go to the bottom so we can get to Enkidu. So right, 5B, not quite going to reach, but, you know, it's 9 frames. So you could probably micro dash 5B here. His dash starts like 6, 5, ish frames, somewhere around there. So, you know, micro dash 5B is not impossible. Kind of technical for a punish on block, though. You mistime it at all, you're going to mess it up. 2B, 2A, not going to hit. 2C might reach. Charge 2C, obviously going to be too slow. 4C, I don't think it would reach, but it would be fast enough. But I don't think so. 3C might actually be a punish. He should, let's see, if it's 15 frame startup, I assume that covers the roll distance as well. So, I mean, he rolls pretty far. That should punish from there, but I can see why you, this is special cancel on block, right? Yeah, okay, never mind. So, yeah, you could probably 3C punish here if 2C doesn't reach, or if you're scared 2C won't reach. However, the thing is, 15 frame startup in this move, we already went over, is roughly minus 18, right? Problem there is maybe she hits it deep enough or late enough into the sword car that this is like minus 14-ish or so, right? Then that might be a problem. How active is this exactly? 15 frame active. So yeah, there's a lot of room there to make it better. But I would test it out. That's what I would do. Any other options? 6XB, not gonna reach. 6C, too slow. Moves. I don't know if B Rekka goes far enough, but if it does, I think it actually would. Yeah, I think B Rekka. So B Rekka would probably be a punish. If A Rekka goes far enough, I doubt A Rekka goes further than 2C though, to be honest. But I would test Rekka punishes on this. You know, that's a pretty good one. I don't know if this is a counter hit starter or not either. I don't think it says so. I would assume it's not a counter hit starter, so you can't do any like crazy like Rekka 1 into huge damage combo, but so that's the situation. And let's remember it, right? People let Austin get away with this a lot. All of these follow-ups are, you know, they're not all unsafe, but they all have a risk. So you've got raw sword car. A lot of time it's going to be minus. If you space it perfectly, it's +1. I would probably not worry about that unless you see it hit you really deep. Then maybe think about just like letting them take their turn back, or just blocking or whatever, or backdash or something like that, right? But not going to see no cancel as much, and even if you do, it's pretty easy to react to. They didn't stagger into anything. I will take my turn. And then you got the A stab follow up. This one is not quite as minus, but it's -7, and it leaves them pretty close. So you got 10 active frames, -7 to +2. Spaced really well. It'll probably be safe, but you'll probably get to take your turn. If it's spaced perfectly right, they'll take their turn back. I don't see that happening very much. You could also shield this if you think they're going to do the follow-up, but that's kind of a read, right? If they no cancel, then you don't get anything off the shield, and you lose your turn. But if I block this, I would just push 5A because I'm Byakuya, but if I'm Enkidu, I'd probably push 2A or maybe 5B, 2B, that kind of thing. I don't think Enkidu is probably going to get a punish on it normally, unless it's really poorly spaced, right? Like 2B is too slow. 2A probably will not reach for most distances. You could try it though, but you would also have to account for like it's probably going to push them back, and they're going to be like right here-ish after the 2A, so you'll probably have to do like, I don't know, something that hits pretty far after that, so like 2A, 2C, or 2A, 2B maybe will still work from there. But yeah, so that's also risky. However, the stagger window on the A follow-up is pretty big, so you can get killed by it. Got the overhead version. Austin doesn't use this much, and pretty much for good reason. I mean, it's fairly frequently minus enough to punish on block, right? And it's like reactable and fuzzyable. Like if you block sword car, why not just block high? So there's no mix up there. You know, you block the sword car. This is a mid. This is a high. This is nothing. So you just block, stand block after sword car, so you don't have to worry about getting hit by this. So you know, if you see this on block, mash something, take your turn back at least. Maybe your 2A will reach, maybe it won't. My 5A will reach because Byakuya is pretty good. But you know, this one, like we said, -18, but we let him get away with it here, just because we weren't sure how minus it was. We weren't sure how far he would be away. So I would boot up training mode, practice that on block, and practice punishing it a little bit. Shouldn't be too hard once you start recognizing it. It says no neutral. Yep. So the roll under isn't a bad idea. right? Because 3C is projectile invuln, or at least the charge version is. I don't know if they're both projectile invuln actually. Yeah, it's also projectile invuln. So this was not a bad idea at all. However, the problem is he's running in behind it with a button, so you would have to do it early enough that you would stuff the button, which frankly isn't going to happen probably, unless they're on the other side of the screen from it probably. So I wouldn't default to that as much. Honestly, in this situation, I see very little reason to not just jump instead, right? Like if you're reading, if you see, okay, he's dashing up and I want to interrupt somehow, assault might not clear it, but forward jump would clear it definitely. Assault should clear it from some distances. You have to be careful about it though. I see no reason. To me, in my mind, I'm thinking I block this and I take the mix-up / maybe some plus frames. To be fair, when you block this, if you just stand right here, she's going to get to around here-ish by the time you recover from block stun. So, there's not a huge threat of a mix-up. So blocking here is pretty solid. The only thing she's going to enforce is 2B 2C or 2B 5C or something into a rebeat or into a special cancel, or she assaults instead, both of which are not very scary to deal with for the most part. So you either block this out, or if you want to interrupt, I would jump. Now, of course if she stops dashing up, or if she just dashes up only this far and is cognizant that you want to jump, you're gonna get crushed. Or also if she jumps and tries to air you, you might have to react appropriately, right? But I think the best decision in this situation is either block it out or do some kind of jump. 3C, they're looking for dash up button here, so they dash all the way up and they still beat your 3C, so not quite the spacing to try that out. Just jumps back. He's giving you a lot of respect on defense, probably because you're pretty close to the Vorpal cycle here. Yeah, you even do get it. So he just jumps back. I mean, honestly, if you wake up chain shifted right here, right, you get a punish. You DP, you EXDP, or you dash up 5A, or you dash up shield or something, right? You get a punish here. But I respect not just mashing it out. And also, it's partially you just got it, so it might not have reacted in time to, oh wait, I have the cycle, I should wake up chain shift. But Austin baits it out. Just get hit by the fireball here. Inputs are not on, so I don't know what happened. This is a good string for frame trapping. However, I think you can multitask with this string a little bit harder if you want. Okay, so the half charge 5C here, right? Not quite half charge, but partially charged. When you do charge 2C after, it's way too much time to be a half charge high-low mix-up. You're giving them a lot of time to react to the low. So if you want to multitask a little bit harder, maybe do 2A 2C or just 2C but not charge it and just stagger it a tiny bit. That would probably be a little bit better way to do that and pretty much accomplish the whole thing. But this is nice for moving yourself forward and keeping the pressure up a little bit. So good frame trap string. Catch him on the, I actually don't know if that was 2-2A or 2-2B. Let's see. Looks like 2-2B. You shielded the hit before and then didn't mash you out. Really, that gap should be big enough to mash, so he probably just mashed something pretty slow. I like the throw. My mama told me never to throw KO, and you kind of have to sometimes. But just be aware that that's scary because the reason throw KOing is so scary is if he guesses right on the throw here and mashes you out, you actually just lose, even though you have a hella life advantage, right? So maybe trying out more frame traps is good, but this was a good decision still. Also because it was really deep and weird spacing. I'm a much bigger fan of 2A throw rather than 2A dash up throw as a mix up when you can do it. It's way scarier, I think. Don't start parry, but it hits late so you don't get the follow up, and they're far away. Just get hit by the sword card after. Oh, I didn't talk about the other important thing about the sword card stuff is, at any point, they can cancel any of these. They can cancel this or this. Yeah, this one's EX cancelable. And they can cancel this into plus frames with 2 and 4C. So just something to be aware of. You can't. It's not really good enough to like stagger. Just be aware that like if they have resources, they're probably going to try to make it safe or plus and take their turn back. Which, I mean, that's kind of how Uni works. Most characters, it's pretty valuable. A lot of characters have a way to make their special move on EX cancel plus. Pretty good thing to have. Yep, and like I was saying, you have to deal with the dash up throw mix up there. Pretty scary. Stood for a long time there. Good force function. Yeah, you can pretty much just react to whenever Nanase tries some assault or float mix, just force function the shit out of it. The gap is always going to be huge. I don't really like that ender. I feel like there's supposed to be more to that combo, but it's fine. I think the problem was, of course, right, gets that throw, so he is way ahead of in the Vorpal cycle. Almost loses it with force function, but your force function also costs grid, so Austin's going to win the cycle here, barely. Yeah, so the problem is we're at this situation where it's like Vorpal, far away. You might get a meaty if you dash C or something, but if you dash C, you just die to Vorpal. Doesn't do it. Also, I would have probably done this dash C a little bit earlier so that you hit this back tech a little bit deeper. You hit the, like, also if Austin did, like, can I really not move this forward by 5 seconds? Nope, just 10. Also if Austin did, like, neutral tech 5B, you just died also. So this dash C, if you're doing it that late, you're just gonna die. So shields it, punish. I don't know if that's punish, I assume so. This ender just for the Vorpal cycle, get neutral control. Maybe he tries to throw a shield here. Throw him back. Cancels into plus frames. Really preemptive force function, but get away with it. Is the EX dive kick unsafe on shield? I'm pretty sure EX dive kick is like -5, right? Oh no, EX dive kick is plus. Oops. Really? This doesn't seem like the right frame data. I want to say this dive kick is way more minus, but -2 is fine. That's about what you'll see probably, right? I don't know how they're calculating that necessarily either, but either way, probably safe, even on shield, the EX one. Oh, see, that's just an experience thing. That dash up force function was really nice, by the way. So get a weird knockdown here, and you do meaty 5B, and the 5B would have been really meaty, or maybe you would have whiffed it, but I think it would have been meaty enough to just like barely hit. In this situation, when you whiff a meaty like that, there's two things you got to be thinking. And the first one is what most people usually think when they whiff a meaty. They think, oh, I whiffed, I must have mistimed, and now my opponent has advantage and they will mash on me. Which is probably what Polar is thinking here. However, the case actually was I whiffed because it was a veil off or some other reversal. So if you are thinking about that as another possibility, you could have blocked that veil off and punished, and it would have been the round. But just something to be cognizant of. So let's see how safe that sword. Oops. Let's see how safe the EX sword car is. I don't think it is safe, I want to say, because his projectile invuln is pretty good. -12 to +4 if perfectly spaced. That one is by no means perfectly spaced, right? God, that was scary. So, right, if we had recognized a little bit better and just blocked when we saw we whiffed, because it probably means there's a veil off coming, could have been the round, but so the decision here is fireball, and then behind the fireball he EX sword cars. The idea being you EX sword car and blow through whatever Polar does in neutral, which I don't know why you would expect Polar to do something in neutral at this point anyways, when he's staring down a Fireball, but the idea is there. And then the Fireball comes in to make him plus or safe after. However, from this spacing, Fireball is way out there still. Another like 10-20 frames before the Fireball hits you, so you could have definitely like throw punished is probably what I would have done on the EX Sword Car. You throw punish because it's your fastest punish, and if you mess up, right, like if you say you 5A or 2A punish and you mess up and actually the Sword Car was safe or you just did it too late, then they block the button and then you eat the Fireball and get counter hit for all your health, which would suck. Or you could throw punish, and if you throw punish right, if you're right, you still get the throw. If you're wrong, worst case scenario, what, they throw tech, or maybe somehow they were plus and they matched like a 5A that I don't, or a 5 frame button that I don't think she has. So throw punish there is pretty safe. I think you see me later in the VOD do that actually. Oh no, her 2A is 5 frames. Wow. Mid though, but I wish I had a 5 frame 2A. So yeah, I think throw punish is your safest bet there. Definitely do nothing is just the response for if like this is the first time you've seen this situation, so which is completely fair. A lot of respect. Good job of at least canceling it. Very preemptive though. Gotta look at spacing harder. Kind of lose the Vorpal cycle here because of it also, right? Cost a bar of grid to do that. And then, like I was saying, defaulting to respect is a good idea, but gotta work on like that. You were definitely plus off that tech for sure, off the tech plus whiff. Here you're winning the cycle, right? You see the float. He shimmies you with the float, so good play on his part. You whiff the force function barely, but then you EX dive kick. It gets shielded. Now Austin is winning the Vorpal cycle. If you're gonna give up your turn because he's shielded, you might as well shield here to try to win the cycle. I think would have been a good idea. But I can understand it's risky because if he does like throw or dash up throw, you super die, right? But something to think about for sure is shielding there to try to steal the cycle back. And I mean, you would have stolen the cycle. Now he gets this whole mix up, but kind of a whack mix up. Assumes you'd respect it. Good conversion of the frame traps. Let's see. Actually, let's look at round start. So the way I see round start against Nanase, she's gonna up back Fireball. She's gonna jump and do some float shenanigans, or just jump in, or she's gonna dash up low, or she's gonna back off and look for a time to throw Fireball. So you've got fast low, like her 2B hits like right here-ish, right? So she got a micro dash, or she can Fireball. If she does TK Fireball, which she should be doing, if you do like dash up low, it'll low crush that and you'll die. To me, I think the best options for dealing with Nanase in round start position is either like micro dash, low crush, or like just micro dash, try to contest the button or to contest the Fireball set, or just sitting at this range trying to react to a jump of some kind, and either anti-airing if she just sits into this Fireball, jump yourself, or just kind of chill out, dash block a little bit. I think she's pretty privileged in this position, so you have to give her a lot of respect, but that doesn't mean you have to give her respect every time. So yeah, she jumps forward, he jumps back. I don't really like the jump back, personally. I don't think it really accomplishes anything for the most part, as in Enkidu anyways. Like, if I'm Carmine, I would jump back there because I want to throw a puddle, like with force function, or I want to throw a wheel, or I want to throw J6B or something like that. But as Enkidu, like, you jump back to bait an aggressive option, but if the aggressive option you're shown is jump, you can't do anything about it. And if it's dash up low, you also can't do anything about it with jump back. I think that would beat Sword Car, though, if you're expecting round start Sword Car, but he hasn't shown it yet, so I wouldn't be expecting that. And, yeah, you kind of just give up. Like, here's the situation, right? You jumped back, he jumped forward. He's kind of got initiative. And also he's winning Vorpal Cycle now because he went forward, you went back. Yeah, so even though he like floated or whatever, not a great situation. But good recognition of spacing, uses 5B to poke. Tries to take his turn after that. Good catch on the backdash. Have to think about it a lot. Nanase has a pretty good backdash. Okay, so another thing I want to talk about block strings. It kind of looks like all your block strings are set from the ground up to be about frame trapping, which is fine. It's very good. Enkidu is very strong at frame trapping, and he does a lot of damage off of it. But you also want to make your opponent scared of the throw and scared of the high option, or the high-low, right? So we've got here this whole situation. You did 5B, 5C, and so a lot of people, when they see the 5C, are probably going to stand up, or at least think about standing up, in preparation for charge 5C. So you're already thinking about standing when you block the 5C here. And then you do an overhead mix, which it didn't hit overhead here because you got shielded and it pushed him out too far, so you only got the shockwave hit, which is just a mid or whatever, or maybe it's a low, I don't know. Probably a mid. So the thing is, most people are not going to crouch block that charge 6C because they're already thinking about standing from the 5C. Whether or not you did charge 5C, that's kind of what they're thinking about. So basically I'm saying this charge 6C, if you use it after 5C, it's not a very good mix-up, I think. It's good for frame trapping, though. It hits at a very nice distance for that and sets up into 2-2B plus frames pretty well. Kind of just gives you turn back after that. It's fine, because you're kind of at an awkward range for 2-2X. Good frame trap 2-2A. I think we talked about this before, but you used to rely really heavily on 2-2B and just smash into plus frames, and then you realize that there's a pretty big gap there for people to mash out if they're ready for the 2-2B every time. So, like, right here after the charge 3C, he shields it. If you did 2-2B, you got mashed on here. But you do 2-2A, and it frame traps. And frame traps even better because he shielded it, so he's looking to mash after that. So, really good play on your part, choosing 2-2A. Chain shift is, like, whatever. Not a bad idea. Like, you probably just did it because you expected it to be blocked, but helps you hit confirm also. Tried to do probably meaty 6-6B or just, like, frame kill. You kind of just give up your frame advantage, though. See, here's where this match is, like, won and lost on, right? Let's look at this grid cycle here. You, by all accounts, should have won this Vorpal cycle, I would say. But, like, overwhelmingly so should have won this Vorpal cycle. Because let's look at the situation. Grid is about even, right? But he's got a projectile coming to you that you can shield. And you have all the space that he's just sitting here letting you take. If you dash block here and you block this fireball, suddenly this is like an even Vorpal cycle or so. If you dash up, does pressure, it's an even better Vorpal cycle for you. But you chose to back away and give up the space instead, which I thought was pretty questionable. Like, I guess the question is, are you that afraid of blocking the fireball that you would choose to give up your Vorpal cycle? And I think the answer is you probably shouldn't be that afraid of blocking to give up the Vorpal cycle because, you know, if you jump back here, you're just going to have to block again whenever fireball comes through again. Or the Nanase behind it comes through. A little bit of a scramble here. Barely lose the Vorpal cycle still. Getting shimmied on one of these force function now. Really good tech, though. Not quite a high-low mix-up off the charge 5C or half charge 5C because, you know, you pretty far charge 2C, so, like, people are low blocking at that point. But I don't think you've shown charge 5C much as a mix yet, so he's probably not trying to block it anyways, so he's just holding low. You didn't get shielded, but I think he maybe thought you got shielded or just messed up your button timing after the jump in, so. Whiffs. Chose to take your turn after. Maybe you can't cancel that on shield. Let's see. Actually, it's 2C, so it's up here. Ah, 2CC. It's EX cancelable. I don't think it tells you what you can. I don't think it tells you whether or not things can cancel on shield, but either you messed up the stagger there, or you can't cancel it on shield. Either way, I didn't crazy like it as a frame trap option there, just because you don't have that much meter. It's not nice to be ready to lose all your meter like that so easily, like off for what is like pretty mediocre frame trap, something you probably could have accomplished with like 2C, 6C, 2-2A, or 2C, 6C, Rekka, or 2C, Rekka, Rekka, that kind of thing. So, and those are all more safe than that one and don't require you to use resources. So, maybe a good idea to think more about that. Yeah, he got punished for it then. This one's looking pretty rough. Now he's got the Vorpal. Oh no, that's just gonna kill anyways. Jesus, I didn't think that would beat that. Aggro option, but I think you could have accomplished the same thing with dash up 5B, to be honest, and it would have been less risky. But still a good call out. I like the backdash just in case they are able to tech out of the corner or something. I don't like this. Now the back tech is fine. The mash after is less fine, but again, punishing the sword car follow up on block. Good spacing. Get stabbed. So you probably recognize that you were letting him get away with the sword car follow up a lot. So he did the stagger for sword car that time, and you decided to mash. So just block a little bit longer on that. Misses the pickup. Just throw him for it. Bait the DP. This is probably dead. Oh, the meme route. Still kills. I hate the upticks meme route. Mental damage, you know. Good 5B, actually. I was surprised that worked. But drop into a sword card mash. Sword card mash is pretty good. Like, generally when I get hit the first time in a round, assuming it's not late enough into the round, like, okay, let's look at the Vorpal cycle here, right? This Vorpal cycle is pretty even still, right? And you get hit, but what you do is you back tech, and you pretty much guarantee outside of a really good shield that Autumn is going to win the Vorpal cycle here. If you didn't back tech, sure you have to deal with the plus frames a little bit harder, right? But I think it's okay to be confident in your defense from this range. I mean, even if you're right here instead of right here, and this fireball is going up, like, it's like you might be able to interrupt with 5B even. If not, like, you can do something after the fireball or just dash block, or you're kind of forcing him, like, basically from this range, if you're right here and he's setting the fireball in your face, he doesn't get a very good mix up off of it because, you know, dash up throw would hit at the same time as the fireball, so he has to delay it probably. And all of his frame trap button options are at a range where they're not very ambiguous between that or throw. So I think this is a good situation for you if you just neutral tech. Then this Vorpal cycle is now like about even, but you have stuff you're going to end up blocking here. So I think would be very good for you if you just neutral tech instead of back tech. But since you back tech, you pretty much gave up all hopes of the Vorpal cycle right there. Pretty wild, but he crouch shields at the same time, so it doesn't punish it. Good jump. I like that one. You see, I'm normally very against like jump assault type stuff in neutral or like getting out of the corner, that kind of stuff. But against Nanase, it's a thing you have to do just because it clears the space where fireball is so well. And you'll see me do it a lot, but it's very good in this matchup, even if it is still very risky. Still, kind of got mixed on left right. I think shield should beat that left right pretty cleanly, right? Like shield has cross up protection. So, I don't know, if you recognize the whiff thing, stand shield is a pretty good option here, I think. Veil off too, but you know, I have 100 meter anyways, so it's like, and it might safe jump Veil off because Veil off is pretty slow. Yeah, the gap's not big enough on that to force function through. Good throw tech. Didn't respect the chain shift, should have died, but it's fine. Shields your stuff, yeah. Okay, so you do the same thing I do when you take pressure, right? I know you know that this 2-2A is minus, right? Right here. No, it's 2-2B. Right? I think that was 2-2B. Okay, then the situation is a little bit different actually if this is 2-2B. But okay, so 2-2B, you're +2 from here. About this range, if you're +2, your 5B beats everything pretty much, right? Okay, my mistake then. The situation then, if you don't react to the shield, you're assuming I have plus frames now, I can mash, and it will win. However, it gets shielded, and you get mash 2B on. However, I also want to say, I'm pretty sure you did 2C right there. I think no matter what, if you mash 2B, it would be your 2C. I think Nanase 2B is like, what? 9 frames? Okay, so it would have traded then, since Enkidu 2C is 11 frames, I believe. No, 12 frames. Okay, so you would have lost either way to this 2B mash, whether or not that 2-2B got shielded, but I'll go to my tangent anyways then. How do I put this? You have the same problem I have with your pressure. Especially I had this problem when I was playing Nanya in Melty Blood for a while anyways. I kind of got better at it, but this took me a long time to get over in every game. You are, like, you don't very often make the decision to give up your turn. Like, you're pretty much like, either my reset works and I get in, or I get hit. When definitely the right decision sometimes is to just say, 2-2B happened, it's at a spacing I'm uncomfortable with, or it might get shielded. I will just block, or I'll just walk back a little bit or something, or like walk back, crouch block. And when you do that, right, at some point your opponent is going to mash out and blow you up. Like, most people, okay, I should say, anyone you're worried about losing to will eventually blow you up for your pressure string. If your pressure string just always works and they always block it, or they always get blown up by it, you can ignore this, but that probably doesn't happen almost ever. If your opponent is on a similar level to you, at some point they are going to mash and blow up your string, right? So when you continue your pressure until it stops working, eventually it's going to stop working and you'll die. The only two options are you hit them or they mash you out at that point. And, you know, if they're a competent player, it's probably going to eventually be that they mash you out. So the thing is, when you keep continuing your pressure with, like, resets and that kind of stuff, if you don't ever just decide to back off, like, you're forcing a mix-up where mix-up is not favorable for you. So if you instead here did 2-2B, realized the spacing was weird, or maybe even reacted to that it got shielded, and you just down back, or you walk back slightly, down back, so you don't get clipped by the low, then let's look at the situation, what it would be. You're, like, right here, you low block a 2B. What are Austin's options? 2B, 2C, into maybe 5C, into rebeat, into a special cancel. None of those are threatening for you. And, dare I say, all of those things give you grid and would be very good for you, assuming you block and deal with the proper reset, right? I don't think there's a very, like, at this range, I'm not scared of 2B, 2C with rebeat or whatever and do dash up throw. I'm not scared of that at all. It might get me a couple times, but majority of the time I will mash it out or I will tech the throw. Same with, like, assault from here or something. I'm not scared of that. I will react to that pretty much every time. So the thing is, why continue your turn if the risk reward is so in your favor? Like, if you decide to block here, like, worst case scenario, he takes his turn and you have to deal with a pretty skewed in your favor situation. Whereas if you continue pressure, worst case scenario is you just got hit and you're eating a full combo into the corner and you're going to lose Vorpal Cycle now for sure. Like, that's pretty skewed risk reward and not in a good way. Because this round looks very scary now that he has Chain Shift to just extend his turn forever. Can't really do much there. Probably missed it as a dash input. Good mash on that. That was probably unsafe, actually. He probably wanted the Fireball to make it safe, but... yeah, so I would think about that. Think about just deciding to leave a gap or just respect that your turn could be over at this point. And I know it's very tempting to continue your turn because a lot of people will just let, like, you do -2 on block. Not everyone's going to be like, oh, I am mashing preemptively my frame 6 normal to deal with -2 on block. So if you mash your 2B, it will lose. Like, a lot of people are just going to kind of respect it or mash it a little bit late. And it feels really good to win on those resets where you know you maybe theoretically shouldn't always win. But if you don't ever show hesitation on doing that, you give your opponent to correctly You give your opponent an incentive to correctly mash out of there, which, not particularly good for you. Whereas if you block and show, my turn could probably be over here, you can take your turn, or at least I'm scared to continue my turn. You give them an incentive to mash, but with little payoff, and then the next time when you do a different thing, like, say, instead of 2-2B there, you do, like, 2-2A into frame traps, or, say next time it doesn't get shielded, and you do a proper frame, like you do 5B, and it low crushes as 2B or something, and you're plus so you win, then bam, you just won yourself another scenario because you were generous with giving your turn back in a scenario where, I talked it out, right? The scenario, if you block there, it's pretty good for you. So you're not only earning yourself a much safer and maybe even more favorable situation in the short term, in the long term, you're giving them a reason to mash, which is a reason to get hit by your frame trap, which you would always rather than be getting hit by your frame trap than having to throw them, right? The risk reward just says that. So that's something to think about. Got dumped by Fireball, though. That sucks. I'll probably try to go faster with the next couple games and not stop as much since we're already 40 minutes into this one. Round start, empty forward jump for both of you. You people are insane. I don't... I don't get that. I don't get that at all. Maybe I think you guys both just saw each other jump and got scared of getting aired. But if you're so scared of jumping, just dash block instead. Like, it's way safer and it covers kind of the same thing. If either of you decides to dash block here, you get, like, say you dash block here, you get right here. He whiffs or has to empty jump, you take your turn or even maybe punish him. Same for him. So, round start dash block pretty strong. Good force function. Good route. Well, except for the end there. You kind of just let him take out, but he crouch teched preemptively. I should talk about this a little bit. A lot of the reason I win a lot of these sets that I play is having a read on when people want to do what defensive option. I think it is a good thing to recognize in a scenario like this, right? You look at the life differential, you just grid broke him, so you're winning this cycle, and you have way more grid blocks. He is very low. I think right here you should probably say to yourself, you should probably think, okay, I probably have this round in the bag. How can I secure it? Or look through your, or you could also just look through your opponent's lens and say, what are they probably thinking right now? If I'm Austin right here, I'm probably thinking, oh my god, I've lost this round. I need to try to change that somehow very quickly. That might be your first response. Well, if that's your first response, what do? You probably DP on Wake Up. He DPs on Wake Up. So, also I hate these Wake Up parries, but they're not getting punished very hard, and it's kind of hard to deal with, so just be careful. So like, again, let's think about it. You can decide to force your turn harder, and if he doesn't DP, you get like a run-up throw mix-up, right? Which doesn't kill him anyways. Which is cool. Or you can just hold at this 5B spacing, maybe visually confirm that nothing has happened yet, and then poke out 5B. Like, it's safer. Worst case scenario, he, forward techs and takes his turn back, which is not a big deal. He has to throw you like a quadrillion times to kill you. As long as you don't mash like an idiot, you use your Vorpal cycle to get out of the pressure. Like, you know what I mean? So, basically I'm saying, not necessarily a big incentive for you to meaty there when you know he's probably looking to try to make a comeback by any means necessary, which includes DP on Wake Up. Probably didn't understand which reversal to do there, or it got crossed up. Understandable. Maybe just shield there next time. Like we said, it's punishable on block, so don't even have to do anything invincible or reversal to get a punish there. That was probably supposed to be 236C to go through the fireball with the projectile invuln. It looks like he was blocking anyways, so wouldn't have worked. The thing is, you have to understand that, like, it is very tempting in any matchup in any fighting game where you have projectile invincible moves and they have a projectile that covers neutral pretty freely to use your projectile invincible move and try to hit them behind it. But the thing is, the whole point of having that fireball in front of you in the first place is so that you can dash block up and you don't have to, like, risk getting hit by anything. So he's already probably trying to look to block. So when you 236C there, he's probably already blocking, if you think about it. So you're just going to get punished on block. Good reaction. I seriously dig all the holding down back and forth functions that are occurring. Clannery occurring. I definitely wouldn't force function from that range. I mean, from that range, why not just like dash block? If he jumps over you, cool, you just like cornered him, maybe you got to punish. And if he throws fireball like that, you just chill, block it out, and maybe even retain your frame advantage when you block it. I like the wake up mash. It was a pretty good idea. Okay, you almost did the right thing here, right? When dealing with the chain shift. Right, you got this throw and you thought, okay, you got wake up chain shift, I have to be very careful. So you tried to walk into a range where it was helpful. You did not walk in the range. You walked back in. The range where I would probably want to be on wake up chain shift versus Nanase, if I am Enkidu, is right outside of this 2A range, right? Because your 2A, 6 frames. I think your 5A is also 6 frames, yep. So if you're anywhere, so let's look at the ranges this way. If you're right here-ish, you're in throw range, it's even ground, and both players have to guess between throw / weird random assault JA type stuff or rising JA, or someone blocking and someone taking the turn back with 2A. Both players have to guess between that. This is a pretty even scenario, right? Because if you just throw, it's relatively safe, but not good, because you don't want to have to be the one who starts the throw, right? So you don't want to be here. When you're this close post chain shift, it's too random. I wouldn't want to deal with it at all. If you're right here, also bad, right? You're barely within that 2A range, and at that 2A range, your fastest button is your 2A or your 5A, 6 frames. Her fastest is 5 frames. She mashes 2A, she wins the situation at post chain shift. You post chain shift want to be like right here, which is outside 2A range, or like, I don't know, however big her 2A is. You want to be right outside of 2A range, where maybe your 2A is bigger and hits, or your 2B is faster than her 2B and outpokes it. Or your 5B, which should probably low crush. Yeah, it has, I guess it doesn't have any foot invuln, right? But your hurtbox shifts a lot. So as Enkidu, I'm looking at my pokes. My best pokes are 2A, it's pretty big for a 6 frame. 2B, pretty big for an 8 frame. And 5B, pretty big for a 9 frame. And also, it moves my feet back, so I low crush pokes that would go like right here-ish, right? So I'm thinking I want to be at the peak range of my 2A, where her 2A can't beat mine and her 2B is too slow. That's your good situation. So like right here to here-ish, right? Like maybe right here. I'm not sure. I don't play either of these characters, so you have to lab it out. So I want to be outside of 5A, and if I'm further than my 2A, I want to be inside my 2B range, where my 2B beats her 2B, because mine is faster. Or I want to be outside 5B, or 2B range, where my 5B beats her 2C/2B, and is faster than her other pokes that reach. So if you're right here, you press 5B, you probably also beat any of her pokes. When you're too close like this, you add that random factor in, you get thrown when you try to 2A or something. Don't want to deal with that. And that applies to every character in this whole video game. You want to find the range where your character's poke is better than the other character's pokes, and you want to stand there post chain shift and bait it out and take your turn back. Or at least, rather than take your turn back, at least keep them from taking their turn back, right? So, yeah. Enkidu has a bit of privilege there, in where if you're in a spacing where you can force a trade, that's better for Enkidu than the other character. So that's another risk you can take that they don't get to take. He meters you a lot. If you shield any of those, you punish him. So think about shielding those long air strings. He did like 3 or 4 air normals in a string there. shield any of those, you get a punish. Of course, he can like bait it with like empty force function, but you really gotta be ready for that. Yep, good punish on that. See, that time you were ready to punish it because you recognize the spacing. Not paying attention to the Vorpal cycle. Pretty even. You're walking back here. Okay, like we talked about with force, or with the projectile info and stuff. The idea is there, but the idea doesn't work very well. But I just want to say, look at the grid cycle. Look at the grid cycle. Look, 2.5, maybe like 1.5, 1 3/4. No way you should lose this Vorpal cycle outside of some tragedy, right? But you don't want to deal with the fireball, so you're walking away from the fireball. The Vorpal shifts. Stuff happens. Even if that stuff didn't happen, right? You probably lost that Vorpal cycle just from the forward movement and your back movement. He does a good route here, actually. I didn't realize that Sword Car would beat out Dash C that easily, but good decision making from his part. But yeah, you gotta think about Vorpal cycle more. Just because there's a fireball on screen doesn't mean that if you back away, you won't ever have to deal with it. You'll probably have to deal with it either way. Might as well deal with it in the way that gives you Vorpal cycle. And also, I like thinking about, like, the earlier I block the fireball, the less frame advantage Nanase is going to have. That is super nice. Because, you know, if you back away and you block the fireball full screen, you give her a million years to dash all the way up. But if you block it from, like, right where she throws it, if she dashes all the way up on me, I'm mashing 5A and killing her. So... Oh, God. Yeah, tried to high shield. Good tech. Good charge 5C. I like representing the charge 5C. You haven't represented it yet. No surprise that you crouch shields, thinking it's pretty safe. Okay. Let's talk about RPS. Like I said, there are times to push your advantage and there are times not to push your advantage. I think meeting here would have been good. Right? Let's look at the facts. You almost have Vorpal cycle. You almost have 100 meter. Your opponent does not have 100 meter. Your opponent does not have Vorpal cycle. You have the life advantage. If you 5A meaty here, what is the worst case scenario? You get DP'd. Okay, then what? I get DP'd. I forward tech or I neutral tech. Probably forward tech, so I'm close to them. I recover a little bit later than the DP. And I mash chain shift, and I win. Right? Like, post DP chain shift, you're going to win that situation so many times out of 10. You're at least going to keep them in the corner. So, getting hit with the DP, not bad. If you respect, like you do here, what is the worst case scenario? You eat some pressure, or you eat a mix-up, and you lose your health lead, and you lose your turn. Or you get thrown into the corner. I think the risk reward is pretty clear there, right? Pretty good for you if you just meaty. So I would have definitely meatied. You get something unexpected happens, you lose your life lead. Well, you should have lost your life lead. Kind of bad accidental drop or whatever, but works out a little bit better for you than maybe it could have, right? So, and then you meaty there that time. What is calling me? I'm gonna have to pause. We'll make this part 2 or something.